Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Bain and I am the owner of WebTechGlobal. I am a WordPress developer and currently working in the Multitool plugin. The Multitool plugin is a special plugin because it aims to have a little bit of everything. The free edition can be downloaded on WordPress.org. I eventually will have a premium edition when we start adding some really interesting features, especially all the API stuff. And I do already have a Twitch and Twitter API in this plugin, so that just shows you the scope of the plugin. It's going to be one of the biggest plugins that you can download and install for WordPress. I'm not boasting when I say that. Any developer can do it. The reason why I'm doing it is not to provide a single plugin packed with tools. It's my own approach to development. This plugin will be so packed with working PHP classes and functionality that it will allow me to use it as a template plugin. So consider the idea of just simply removing all the views I do not need, removing the class files I do not need, and rebranding the plugin by changing its name, and then adding the new features and working on the existing functionality, changing it to adapt to my new project. And that's basically what I plan to do with Multitool, and hope that other developers get on board with that idea and use Multitool as well. So eventually the premium edition will be aimed at developers who want to use it for that purpose. Now today I am working within the schedule section. I originally spent a lot of time on the WordPress cron side of things, so it's chronological. That's what cron stands for. Don't worry about things like errors and there's dumps here. That I am in development at the moment, developer mode. So my plugins have this menu up the top here. All the latest ones do anyway. Developers, and we have the ability to hide errors or display them. And obviously while I'm creating new tools and new things from scratch and designing them myself as I go, there will be errors. Now the WordPress cron is good, but it's not great. So I decided to stop and create my own form of cron, which I've done before. My plugin CSV to Post, which was my very first plugin for WordPress, begun with an automation system that basically involves cycling through a number of jobs and repeating them in a cycle automatically if the user had each one activated. Otherwise each one would be skipped or bypassed. And very simple really, and as long as we put delays in, a check to check the previous time when the last automated action happened, we can apply a delay and prevent overworking our server, especially when we are on low cost hosting. So I'm taking, these things always are very similar, but the new WebTechGlobal cron approach is to schedule individual actions within the database. So I have a database table, and when we submit a form like this new form I've created, the processing will involve inserting a record to the schedule table, and each time WordPress loads, that schedule table is checked. No, that's incorrect. Each time WordPress loads, there is a hook which checks if processing is due. That is automatic processing in general, and the delay can be whatever we set. I would set something like 15 minutes. If 15 minutes have passed, my plugin then steps into a procedure where it checks the schedule table and retrieves any overdue tasks. So any tasks that are due based on the stored time, and then it just fires them, it runs them. Now the difference in my approach, I'll just show you, is we have this class schedule, and we also have class automation. Class automation is the class that will exist in all plugins and it will not be customized. So this class will be loaded once and this class will allow all WebTechGlobal plugins to integrate together and run within one schedule system. And that means we can have any number of scheduled actions or events on any number of plugins, but not accidentally run too many at once. And that is the purpose of what I am doing within the class automation file. It's allowing endless automation within a WordPress blog, but avoiding overworking our servers by asking our WordPress and asking our server to do too much in a very short time. So I've not worked on it yet, but I'll have some functions that add extra seconds to delays. And when I say extra seconds, we're not talking a few seconds, we are talking 10, 15 minutes, etc. And basically automatically spread events out a little bit. Now, the class schedule is special because I'm taking an approach that I've not seen, and that is to have user functions that we can set up very quickly. This is an example here. We add them to the schedule class, and all of these methods, like this one, will be loaded automatically. So for example, if I one day decide I want to automate a specific function, and it could be another plugin, it could be the core, the WordPress core, it could even be a function in your theme. We want to automate that function, whatever that function does. Alright, it could be sending an email, some other sort of processing trigger, whatever that function does, we can begin here in the class schedule file by we add a method. We add this array here which tells the system how to handle this method, how often it should run and things like that. Now what I don't have is the example here shows hourly, twice daily, daily. Anybody that knows cron would understand that this is how most cron jobs are set up, and this is how the reoccurrence happens. Whereas the WebTechGlobal cron system allows us to add seconds. So we can just replace this with, let's say, 3600 seconds, and that would be 1 hour, and the reoccurrence would happen every hour in that job. So I'm just going to leave that there actually and type seconds or okay. So we have a little bit of flexibility in there in the approach that we will take. Now, so what happens is we have a sort of registration process happening, whereas this automation class and some forms that the user needs to use to register a plugin, and basically involves adding a plugin to a list of automated plugins. So you may have, for example, 3 WebTechGlobal plugins installed in your blog, and that's obviously the aim for us. For myself, I want to have clients use as many of our plugins as possible, and we will be creating plugins of all types to make that happen. Those 3 plugins in theory don't need to all be integrated, so we could integrate 2 of them and disable the automation on one of them. So in effect we're registering 2 for automation. The 2 registered for automation would automatically have their methods in this class schedule file loaded and processed, which means this argument up here would have the value of getConfig, and that would result in the method config array being returned, and the information, that data, is then used to do basically used to store into the schedule database table, and that table is then used later for actually triggering and running the method itself. So this method is actually called again automatically. The arguments, instead of having the getConfig, the arguments would include any special arguments that we would like to pass to process later on in the method, and it could be anything. This method itself could perform some core functionality. It doesn't need to call other methods or functions. most of the time that would be the case. Most of the time we'll have something in here that just simply does something, performs it, carries it out, and doesn't need to use other classes, etc. Or we can go very advanced and we can do everything in here, including, oh, there's the door, you probably heard that. Thank you, Mr. Postman. This method could create new objects, class objects. It could use APIs, SOAP or REST APIs, and we could have a whole lot of things going on here that involves quite big processing. Let me remind you that we do always need to take care on how much we ask our server to do, especially if it's going to take a minute, because a lot of servers limits are around 30 seconds of processing. Otherwise what you're doing becomes more of a daemon. Anyway, I won't go into that. What's important to know is that I am creating something that balances everything and helps the user to take care and how they schedule everything, and helps the developer to create actions very quickly. So I call this an action. So this action would be the example only action, and this action can be created quick. To create a new action, the plan is to copy and paste this example. So we would copy this, paste, edit what's going on down here, or you edit all of this, really, all of this area, and we can add anything here. It's up to you. You could have an email sent if you want to test it, so add the WordPress email functionality, or even just if you want to test it for the very first time, just have a dump. Just creative. Look, this is what I meant, a variable dump. This is for you newbies, right? Yeah, I mean, that's it. Okay, so I hope you appreciate the ease in which we can. I'm looking forward to creating loads of these methods and watching the system balance itself out. Now, I've not really done a lot of work. By the way, I never mentioned the purpose of this video. You know what? I actually started creating the video and I ran through that, and then I was interrupted with a phone call. So I just started again because I was at the beginning of the video. But what I did not explain in this time around is the purpose of this video is just a relaxed talk on what I'm doing, because I want to show my work. I want some sort of evidence of the fact that I create what I say I create. I want my attitude and ethics to be transparent. I believe in developers being not just ethical, but taking ownership of everything they do, including the mistakes, no matter how big they are. I've tweeted about the lack of accountability when numerous hacks happen, and we find that there is a failing in the developer's work, and it has happened in numerous very popular WordPress plugins that have millions of users. Some of these companies have taken unethical actions. I'm not going to say which. I've spent a lot of time looking into it, and I know specific teams that have taken unethical actions against other developers, including myself, who leave university. They apply new innovation and ideas that could put a dent in their sales, and they create things like negative reviews. We know that obviously it's easy for someone to say, oh, a negative review is a competitor, it's a fake review, but the evidence I collected shows the number of reviews, are the ratio to reviews are very wrong compared to the number of users. So these so-called clever developers, alright, and let's just, I'll say out loud and always will that any developer who needs to take action like that, they aren't clever at all. They are working in a team, putting their ideas together as a team. I myself created everything that you see in front, working by myself. It takes longer, it's harder. I did make more mistakes initially, but I'm also up against teams of developers who are quite happy to make loads of fake negative reviews that eventually were removed because, as I said, the ratio to reviews to users and then comparing that to the average number of reviews that a software or a product gets per number of customers was very wrong. Basically, that's just one of the ways that they get caught. There is numerous other ways. So my point is, this video and the future videos I'm going to make is going to show my development and a bit about me, because I will keep talking. I've heard that that's what people want. I'm a little bit of a gamer, and I would like to do some streaming eventually. That's my hobby. I would like to bring gaming into my work, and I need to practice because I'm Scottish. Right? I get a lot of comments about my Scottish accent, basically, and I'm not used to that. I'm not used to talking to such a large audience, and then obviously my initial step into the big world of the web, had that reaction. And yeah, it can dent your confidence for a moment, but it doesn't. I'm a fighter, and that's why I'm here making this video right now. So what I want to do is talk while I work. It's difficult. I find myself stopping, so I'm not working. Here we go. You'll notice I'm on Vista. Don't even ask. Right, change the color scheme. So I click change the color scheme. It doesn't do anything. Yeah, I'm on Vista. It's terrible. Okay. So yeah, I find myself talking and stopping. What I need to perfect is working and talking. Alright. Now, so here I am in this form. I need to think about what I've got to do. I'll just submit the form. I'm going to select a time and date quickly. It should really be date and then time. Yeah. So we have a dump here. I'm basically testing I've converted the date and time string into time format. See, there's something I don't like. If you hover over that and then try and scroll up, so you might accidentally hover over it and then try and scroll the page up. So that's a little annoying. Okay. So I had a dump there and I tested that, and I didn't mean to click that. That was me. That was me clicking out of that date picker. See, that's me, as a user, and that's what I enjoy about development. So now Windows Explorer is not responding. So this is the story of my life. It's alright. This won't take long. I upgraded this 10-year-old machine with an extra gigabyte, and that extra gigabyte just gives it that sort of lift. Yeah, it's a nightmare. But basically, I have spent my time creating a lot of free WordPress plugins, so I've not been making money. Alright, so it's almost been like work experience and practice. Now, as of I was making money in 2009. I started selling straight away, but I realised I needed a lot more experience and tools in place to handle customer service, especially technical issues, etc. So I stopped trading, and as of 2016 I will be trading again because I am ready. But what I haven't been able to do, because I've not been trading, is upgrade my hardware, and I am sitting on a HP Pavilion with Windows Vista, and it really just needs replaced. And anyway, so I tested it. I'm going to submit that again, and I'm just going to take a quick look because here we go. So create new event. This is the method that handles the processing. You don't see a lot of validation here because this class puts all forms through validation up here, and it's a gradually growing type of validation. It becomes more advanced all the time, and it basically involves not just validating values but security. Forms and their inputs are registered, and what my plugins do is ensure the user has not accessed the source code and made changes to the form, and things like that. So all that happens before this method here. We can add extra validation, that's not a problem. Obviously, always do that, but we don't need to always check the post values. They've been processed, I can assure you. Now, I'm just looking at what I need to do. Variable dump, that's all tested, looking fine. I need that timestamp. I don't need any of this. What I need to do is take a new method new WTG cron job, and I think it is auto. Now the way that I'm working at the moment is, actually let me just see, I've not included all my classes, so I'll just double check that. Right, I don't actually have auto set up here, and it's requests, so I can set up auto. It's the first time, see, so that's how new the schedule system is. WebTechGlobal schedule system, and I think it's called automation. I'll just double check. Automation, oh, it's WebTechGlobal automation on this one, because this is a class that will integrate all of my plugins, and we'll load this class once. Right, so I think there may need to be something, no, that needs to be removed. So there you go, now I am creating this object. Now requests, the requests class is only initiated or loaded when we actually submit a form, and all of these objects here are only created when we submit a form in the admin side, and so we don't need to worry about the memory usage so much. Right, so auto. Now this won't change see, still doesn't change the code suggestion because I've not loaded, I'm not including it on the main file. I'll just go to the plugins main file and check. Alright, so basically what I'm trying to do is avoid adding too many classes to the main file, because as I think I said earlier at the beginning of the video, this plugin will have a bit of everything, and there's already a Twitter class, Twitch class. I've not added the Facebook class. Last night I was looking at the Patreon class. That's the website for people donating money to people that are, you know, developing or creating works of art, and they wish to follow them but also support them financially. So there's a lot of APIs that I want to get involved with to create all the tools for WebTechGlobal. It's not just for products, I'm creating them for myself to use, and so I feel very strongly about them being, you know, being a part of a larger system, a larger group of plugins, and so that all my plugins work together, they're all integrated seamlessly, and yeah, that'll obviously benefit customers, and so it's like creating products and product features as I go as well. Now I'm not going to add the automation class. I was just showing you why we don't get much tooltips here and why we have to sort of do everything by memory. Not everything by memory. I have added some classes to that main file. I will add more as I get to know how much memory my plugin's using and so on. Right, so new WTG cron job, and we will have, I think I'll have an arguments array, an arguments array instead of multiple parameters, because, in fact no, I won't. I will have multiple parameters, and I will put them in order as they are here. Title, class, method. Timestamp should probably be the delay. No, it's not the delay, it's the, sorry, it's the next time, the next, so, oh, timestamp's fine, that's fine. What am I missing? The action array is the name, title, class. Oh, I haven't added the individual inputs. So we have events delay. Let's see, here they are here. So we've got event delay, and just recently I've come up with a slightly different style in my coding. When I write a comment, if it's more of a sentence, I always end with I start with a capital, end with a full stop. It's just something I'm doing, and the reason why is because I plan to document all my plugins, all the content online, and I believe that we just should have grammar. There's no, I just feel, especially with PHP and servers being as fast as they are, we don't need to worry about extra characters. Like, some developers are like that. I just can't help it. I can't help add the grammar now. So event delay is a post, and like I said, it has already been validated and sanitized, etc. So get the delay, and we need event wait. Get the wait, and the wait is the wait of an event. No, it's the wait of an action. An action has a wait. This is over here. This is an action. Alright, the auto example only action, and the wait of this action is 1 because it doesn't do much at all. The more the action does, the bigger the wait. The number is 1 to 10, 10 being the heaviest, and it's up to the developer who creates the action to decide the weight of that action. And there's no exact science in it, but it's there to allow us to prevent too many actions running at once, because just yesterday I decided, let's allow, in fact we'll go to the automation page up, let's allow multiple tasks and set a task limit. So I set it to 3. Now the chances are that we're only going to have 2 running at once, but the control is there. A developer can manipulate the plugin and set things up to run 3, 4, 5. It's entirely up to yourself. It all comes down to a server really, and the demand we want to put on that server, and the speed at which tasks will be complete without, because these things can affect users. If we, page load times and things will change if the server is very busy handling big jobs, and in a CMS that is easy done. So the multiple tasks, the tasks limit is a hard value, so 2 or 3 for example, and the wait is a secondary level within that comes under the task limit. So for example, if the weight of a task is 6 and our weight total, why is that 0 anyway? Add up the weight, oh that's the total, hold on, the weight limit's there, looking at the wrong variable there. So the weight limit is a default of 10. If I run an action that has a weight of 6 and then an action that has a weight of 5, the second action wouldn't run, and that's basically saying that we've used up our processing limit in another way other than this limit here. If we have 2 tasks that are 5 each, obviously they'll run. If we have 3 tasks and each of their weights are 3, then you would have 3 tasks, and that would hit your task limit up here. So there's a different approach in there. We don't have this, as far as I know, this doesn't exist in WordPress Cron, and I believe it's very important because some tasks will be 10 and they will be very large tasks. Although it's all about avoiding a backup of events and scheduled tasks, but at the same time obviously having that care. If we have say 20 small automated tasks and we want them to run quite frequently, even on an hourly basis, then we can have a high task limit. We could even set that to 20 if we know our server can handle things, we know our plugin, we know the actual actions well, we can just let it run. There won't be a lot of times, for me personally, I wouldn't do that, but it's a fact that it's possible that matters. Now, tasks limit 20 would then obviously really require the weight and functions to be low, I think, yeah, basically, because, well, actually you could change the weight limit, you can make that high, or make the individual action weights low, like 1 or 2, for example. I think when you start looking at it that way, you know, if you play around with it too much and you don't know what you're doing, that could get messy. You could just basically open the gates to a flood of automation. So you need to be careful. I'll just change that back. Okay, before I end up releasing a version that does flood. Okay, so here we have. I shouldn't need to add too many more parameters. There you go. So we have the name, that's the lowercase name of the plugin. That can be used in things like IDs and input names, etc. The title is the human readable value, and the class is normally the plugin name, an underscore, and then schedule. So much like this. But it is my plan to allow this system to use any class that is designated. So we will be able to designate a class and then automatically load the methods from that class, and it would be methods that begin with auto. That's why this auto is there in this method. All methods that begin with auto will be automatically loaded as an action, automated actions. Right. Okay, I think I'm ready to. That's fine. So create new event. This is a request, and therefore I need an output. And what I do when I initially create my plugins, and I initially create a new form, and then the function to process the request, that post request, I keep it simple. I don't, within this method here, I don't check the outcome. So I could put outcome there, and I can do things with it. But most of the time, the outcomes are absolutely fine. Most of the time, you know, we never have faults, and it saves a lot of time. I don't see it as cutting corners, because if there is a problem, if there is a fault, it will you know, be shown in one way or another. You know, something's not happening. The record is not created in the schedule table, or there is a PHP, you know, there's an actual error on screen, or logged and, you know, added to the server log. So one way or another, we figure these things out, and you know, they're not security related. So just a quick message. You have scheduled. Let me just select the method. Action. So in the eyes of the user, it's an action. To the developer, it's a function or method. It's really a method. And so we're juggling with jargon all the time to ensure that the user experience is less technical orientated. So you have scheduled the something action, and in my case, the only case at the moment is that one here, so that would appear auto example only. It's a little technical for the user, but the idea would be that we would name those methods something that, you know, makes enough sense to even the, you know, the newest WordPress and user who has no coding experience at all. So you have scheduled the action, and it will, what will I do? Right, I'll just keep it that short just now. Like I said, I do, you know, we can write paragraphs and add all the information, and that's something that I would like to come back and do in future. We need to focus on functionality. So here's something that I've been wrestling with while I've been making this schedule system. Do I call it the way? Do I keep on referring to cron? It's not a word that the average user is going to understand. Chronological, it stands for. There is a standard server cron, and you've got your WordPress cron, and it really just comes down to automation and scheduling, and I think I tend to stick to those words and terms. So yeah, I mean, I do obviously use the term cron because I think about everything. I think about the fact that developers will want to see that that phrase used here and there. So I think I cover everybody. So you have scheduled the method, so I'll just put action scheduled. That'll do for now. We have nothing happening here, and just for your benefit I will put I'll just put that, and I will submit the form. So here we have me selecting that, and then I would select a date, and I want this to run at 5, and I want the delay between each event to be hourly, or do I want it to be every minute for the sake of testing. And then the wait for this is 2, for example, and then I click submit. Now this isn't going to enter anything into the database, which I will open. This won't submit anything into the database because I've not finished that function. All it's doing at the moment is dumping this WTG Chrome. Action scheduled. You have scheduled the auto underscore example only action. Maybe there's something clever we can do with that at some point, so I might just add a little to do. And what I'm thinking is we have all the information here to create a class object and actually access the information in here, and that would allow us to I just don't know if it's worth it. I'm trying to think of a way to create a more user readable name for a method, but the issue there is the developer would have to create a name for the method here, and is that worth doing? I think it might be worth having a name and a description, so when we return the configuration information, it also includes a description of what this does, and then we can use that on here as well. We wouldn't obviously put it in this menu, and it wouldn't probably be in this particular interface, but we could have a list somewhere. Could even have a new tab, a list of all these actions with a little bit more detail, or a lot more detail on what they do. Yeah, because otherwise really nobody's really going to understand what each individual action is. So that's why I'm making this video, because it's showing me at work and how we figure things out as we go a lot of the time, because we can't sit down and with pen and paper and flowcharts and figure it all out. We need to really be in there, and I'm in there now. I'm like a user at the moment. I'm looking at the form, I'm figuring the form out, and I'm thinking about it. And yeah, so I've just come up with a new idea, and what we need is, we'll call it action name, or just name, and just keep it simple. So name, and for those of you, so now I'm wondering who's watching the videos, if anybody's going to be watching the videos. Is it going to be new WordPress developers, college, university students? Do I need to tell them everything I'm doing? I don't know. So anyway, what I was going to say is this, what I've just typed here is for localization. Let's just put example only. So that's for localization for translation. Now, because I said before, if I do a sentence with a full stop, but this is comma delimited example values, etc. And so I don't do that. So that's my style, very specific style there. And I'm not even going to. Yeah, I better. In fact, should it be called name, title? It should be title. Should be title. Title. Alright. Yeah, that's fine. Description. This is an example action that does, shouldn't just put that does very little. Let's see, scheduled example output. Outputs a notice. There you go. Now I'm really not used to working and talking, and the thought that I'm going to upload it. I mean, that's not a problem for me. Making mistakes and spelling things incorrectly. That doesn't bother me at all. But I'm feeling, like the mistakes I just done there just now. That increases because I'm thinking about talking a lot more, getting my thoughts out there. But it's good practice. It really is. Eventually, I want to live stream myself at work. That will require replacing this 10-year-old Hewlett-Packard computer with a Vista on it, 4 GB. I won't be doing any streaming with 4.